king, the Pharaoh, and when I was at least a young adult, maybe even a late teen, there was a guy on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Some of you older folks remember that. Lifestyle, a young adult, maybe even a late teen, of the Rich and Famous. And he would take you on a tour of something's prepared, and here's their bedrooms, and look how opulent it is. What God's describing here, the ship, but Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous here, it's a reflection of the reality entire that they had their pick of everything. Nothing but the best, at least for some people. What happens if, to many people at least, if you are able to have nothing, you start getting in the way? Pride can start getting in the way. And this ends up being a problem for tithe. Pride. Well, folks, it's a problem for us too. And when we get next week to this picture of Satan, we're going to find out that pride was his problem. Folks, pride doesn't just come before. So, lest we get too the crew. So, that's our next little section. Verses 8 through 11, the crew of the ship. 8 through 11, the crew of the ship. The crew of the ship. The inhabitants of Sidon, they were your captains. The elders of Gabel and its wise men were within you, the crew. Well, if you have built one of the best ships out there, you don't want just anybody sailing that ship. You want the best sailors you can get. So he talks about the captain. You don't want just anybody sailing that ship. You want the best sailors you can get. So he talks about the captains, the wise men. The strength, the ones who actually sailed the ship, were from outside. Now, bring that back to Tyre itself. Instead of a ship, we're talking about how they conducted themselves. Yes, their people were the bosses, but they hired their armies. They hired outsiders to protect them. They hired others to be the watchmen on the wall. They hired others. What happens to a hired servant when danger comes? Hired servant when danger comes. They run as fast as they can run. Now, some would honor and they would say, fine, I get the business of the church. And I'm not talking about fiscal business. I'm talking about the spiritual life of the church. Why don't we let outsiders tell us how to do it? We'll get misled. And when hard times come, what happens? They're gone and leave us to fend for ourselves. So there's a picture here of the wealthier they got, the more they said, we don't want our guys having to risk their lives and fighting the wars. We'll just hire some people. But all nations came to them to trade, bringing those foreigners for an army. I'll be your ally if you'll let me send a garrison. I want to make sure that my interests are taken care of if something happens. So when you make an alliance with Lebanon, you get the Lebanese troops. When you make an alliance with Egypt, you get the Egyptian troops. When you make an alliance with Arvad or one of the others that was mentioned, you get their troops. Soon, not only are you depending on them, but now you've got the foreigners inside the walls. This is all building up to something, folks. It's not just a history lesson. The ship prospers. It's a long section. We may not read the whole thing, but let's get parts of it at least. Starting in verse 12, Tarshish was your trading partner because of your abundant wealth of every kind. They exchanged silver, iron, tin, and lead for your merchandise. Javan, Tubal, and Meshach were from Beth Togarmah, exchanged horses, war horses, and mules for your merchandise. And goes on listing things. Then get down to verse 17. Judah and the land of Israel were your merchants.